perspective, Lynn, since December. The lawsuit was filed in May. So from December through May, did the defendants stop doing what they were doing to you?
No.
Did you ask them?
Yes.
Describe for the court how you would ask them.
I would ask them to please not speak to me and please stay away from me.
I would request you, we're giving you 6 named defendants, and there's an issue presumably with respect to each named individual. So I would ask that the witnesses be asked to address which defendants they're referring to.
I will get to that, Judge.
I think it's a fair request. And
No, I
there
understand.
are 6 named people here, and I'm hoping that you'll get to the specific allegations involving each of them.
I certainly will, Judge. I'm just doing generic questions right now. So
If I could speak up, I'm pro se. I mean,
If you have, do you have an
I
objection?
mean, yeah, I would just reinforce what Mr. Meyer just communicated. I take offense to the accusations that I've been involved in any behavior that's harassing. You know, being collectivized is one thing, but just to make these attacks against me as a person when I've never done anything, I'd like for her to be specific and not make these overarching statements.
And the point was made by Attorney Meyer. I think it's a fair point, and I take it Attorney Bauer is going to direct the questioning to be more specific.
I will, Judge. We'll get to each defendant in time here, but I want to sort of just get an overview of the...
Is it worth my time to stay here then? Do I have to listen to this?
If you're going to speak and if you have a specific response, you'll have to stand and address the court. Attorney Bauer, and it's a problem that I have. It's just that the use of the word "them" is very broad, and you've used it a couple of times, and I think it would be helpful to me to really have greater specificity about who is being referred to in the "them." You have it. The witness hasn't identified any of the individuals yet.
So then, with regard to encounters with you, you said that these have occurred every day?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just trying to establish that since from December until the lawsuit was filed, did the encounters decrease or increase from your perspective?
They decreased somewhat, but it was the same actions and behaviors.
And then from May, when the lawsuit was filed, until, I guess, yesterday or the day before, from your perspective, has there been an escalation or a de-escalation, or has it been the same?
I would say that it's been a mixture of both at different times. It's always been on a regular basis, but the actions have been sometimes more pronounced than other days, but basically
And you work when, which days?
Monday through Friday.
And from your perspective, Lynn, has there been among the defendants, and we'll get to the individual defendants in a second, but among and between the defendants, has there been any type of organization or scheduling from your perspective?
Concerning them?
Yes.
Oh, yes, they carry radios that they can tell each other where we are at, from time to time. Phones, other than that, yes.
Give us some examples of that. Give us some examples of what you've observed in terms of coordination or scheduling or organization among the defendants.
Well, I mean, I could be down in a parking lot off of Gilboa Ave and be by myself, and then have somebody on a telephone and one of the defendants would show up. The same, I could be on the street by myself and one of them would see me, and then they get on their own two-way radios, and then a few of them would show up.
Have there been occasions when you've been walking and one individual defendant is following you and then another one shows up?
Yes.
How many times, or excuse me, how many defendants have been around you when you're trying to do your job.
How many defendants or how many individuals?
How many defendants? Defendant individuals.
Well, but there are,
Have all of the defendants at one time or another been around you following you?
And all of them at once?
No.
No, yes, yes. Except for that gentleman there with the white t-shirt,
There you go.
Mr. Ayer,
yes.
okay?
Thanks for being honest.
Hey, Chair, let the witness respond to questions. Certainly, I'll give you an opportunity if you have questions, but no side comments while the question is going on.
Describe for the judge what types of activities generically, and then we'll get into the specifics of who's doing what, but what type of activities have occurred to you by the defendants?
Following along very closely at times, taunting at some times, trying to, if I was trying to talk to a citizen or someone else concerning something, interfering with that, videotaping constantly, playing loud music, walking behind me, just generally just making themselves known and heard.
And what have individual defendants said to you with regard to your job, working for the city or for the government?
That they'll get me another job. That they'll get Jane a job and they can get me another job too.
Put it in context, Lynn. What does that mean?
That means they want me to quit my job.
How do you know that?
Why would anyone do that? Why would they chase me around all day and say disparaging things and demean me in public in front of other people? Why would they do that other than they want me to go away?
Have you ever been bumped into by any of these defendants?
There was one incident, yes, only one.
Who was that?
That was the gentleman right there. Yes, I don't know his
Describe
name.
clothing.
He's sitting beside the guy with the orange t-shirt.
Would you stand up? That fellow?
would make clear for the record that the person who stood up was not an defendant?
The record will still indicate, I think, that the witness pointed to somebody who was seated in the back of the courtroom and not one of the defendants in this matter.
Now, would you describe how that occurred?
I was just writing a ticket and I was standing in front of the meter and he came up behind to put money and he just kind of stuck his hand and he touched me in the back.
And describe that. What do you mean trying to stick money in the meter?
Your Honor, I would like to note that the lawsuit states anybody associated with Robin Hoodie is a defendant in the suit. Does it have to be listed?
People who are not counsel to the case or parties who are representing themselves as witnesses are not permitted to speak. The next time somebody speaks who is not either counsel or Mr. Ayer, who is representing himself in this case, they're going to be asked to leave the courtroom. You may proceed, Attorney Bauer.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I do want to say that I don't think it's appropriate for counsel to have asked an individual to stand up. I mean, if they're not a party to this case, on one hand, if they're being asked to stand up, I mean, I think that encourages them to think that they are participating.
Let me say that in this particular instance, it was helpful. I thought the witness might have been pointing to one of the defendants in the case, and to have it be clear that she was not in fact pointing to one of the defendants was helpful to the court.
Right. You know,
I take your
Right,
point is well taken.
I agree with the court that it was helpful. I'm just saying that perhaps led to the belief about participation.
Attorney Bauer.
So I was trying to ask you about what the circumstances when you were touched or bumped into by this individual. What were the circumstances? You're talking about feeding the meter.
I was just writing a ticket and I was standing in front of it and he just reached from behind the meter to put money, because the slot for the coins is in the front, and when he did, he just had contacted me and wanted that.
Were there other defendants around you as well during that time period?
No.
I checked other defendants, she already made clear it wasn't the defendant.
Sustained.
Oh, I didn't mean the implication that,
It was the way the question was framed, it suggested that the person who actually
Yeah.
bumped in was one of the defendants.
so, let's talk about the individual defendants now. I don't know whether you know them by name. Lynn, do-
Hey, if I could see counsel at the bench very, very briefly.
okay, proceed.
Yes, sir.
So, with regard to the named defendants, Lynn, I don't know whether you know them all by name, I don't know whether you know their full names. James Cleveland, do you know James Cleveland by sight?
Yes.
And would you describe what Mr. Cleveland has done to you over the past several months?
Well, Mr. Cleveland has followed me around the last couple of months. No,
Well, when I say the last couple of months, I mean from December
December, okay.
through
well, he's
August.
followed me around, he has taunted me. He has, even if I cross the street, he crosses with me. He continually chatters and talks about anything and everything, and just to try to confuse me.
Now, when you say that Mr. Cleveland has taunted you, tell the court what do you mean by that?
A particular instant, you mean?
Yeah, or activity or instance. Activities or words?
Well, I remember one time pretty well that we were on Summer Street here, and he started taunting me about being poor Linda, stealing from the citizens of Keene for all these years, poor Linda. And he went on and on with it.
When you say in close proximity to you, I mean, if you were to stretch your arms out, would you be able to touch these defendants?
At times, yes.
And at times were the defendants even closer to you than 1 foot away?
Yes.
Have you told Mr. Cleveland to back off, to get out of your face, or words to that effect?
Don't talk to me, stay away from me.
But how many times have you told Mr. Cleveland to stay away from you, get back, or words to that effect?
I believe I just told him the once.
And did he get back? Did he get out of your face?
It was some days later, but it was the same thing again. It was the same activities on his part again.
What are the same activities? You have to
The talking and the following behind and videotaping or in front of or walking by.
Lynn, do you recognize that people have rights to videotape public employees?
Objection. What's the relevance?
Well, the relevance is I want to establish, make an offer of proof that these employees recognize that they're municipal employees and that individuals have a right to protest and videotape and say what they want within the boundaries of the law. So my point here is to establish through evidence that these three folks are not against First Amendment rights.
Your Honor, whether these people are against First Amendment rights or not against First Amendment rights has no bearing on the issue this court has to address. It's not, again, it's not a personal issue. It's not their political philosophy.
I take it the answer to the question is going to be yes, that they, for limited purpose, I agree, it's a marginal, if any, relevance, but I'll allow.
So Lynn, with regard to individual rights, do you recognize that people can, as a public employee, videotape you?
Yes.
And you recognize that people don't have to agree with, working for the government, for the city, or whomever?
Yes.
What are you asking this court to do, Lynn?
Basically, I'm asking for some assistance to help me be able to do my job like I should be doing my job without being pursued and continually